Hi, welcome to our lunchtime date together with me, John Ballum. I'm an organizational development consultant, I'm an educator, and I'm a coach with a passion for lifelong learning. With me today is my partner in crime, Gifty.
Hi, everyone. I'm Gifty Parker, HR professional with a background in learning and development, performance management, as well as talent management.
So for the next 20 minutes, we invite you to sit back, find a glass of something nice, and enjoy an unusual conversation with us.
All right, John.
Yeah, nice to be with you again.
Amazing to be with you. Always nice, with a very dear colleague, a nice cup of coffee, and as always, engaging conversation.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction to these beautiful offices.
I'm glad. I'm glad. So today we have an exciting topic. I'm actually quite excited because we actually have a topic in 3 different episodes.
Right.
Would you like to tell our audience what amazing topic John came up with?
It's a very good passion of mine. This is what we call business or organizational ethics. And I'm going to just outline it because it's a bit of a misnomer. One person once said to me, isn't business ethics a contradiction in terms? Because there are no ethics in business. I said, no. They are. So
just very difficult to find sometimes.
yeah, I agree with you. It's not just about men. So organizational business ethics, we could say has 3 different components which we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss under a very classical philosophical title of the good, the true, and the beautiful. Right? And what that means is the good is, when we talk about the good, we're talking about the overall purpose or purposes of business. And we're talking about how we structure, manage, govern organizations, the products and the marketing. So the good, that's essentially what we mean by the good. You could say, another word would be to say the quality of the business. Yeah. Good could be the quality.
So the leadership. When we say quality, we're talking about leaders,
exactly. Structure, the purpose we give our employees, all that stuff. And when we talk about the true, we are looking at how do we evaluate business, right? What thought systems do we use to say, we've got a decision to make. Now, are we going to say, for example, we're going to take this decision because this is the greatest good for the greatest number of employees, but some won't like it or get hurt by this decision? Or are we going to say, no, nobody must be hurt by this decision, okay? Because everybody, every single person counts, not just the majority of people that work with us, right? So, for example, we could say, well, why shouldn't we don't make it amenable for disabled people because the majority of people aren't disabled? Now, most people would say, no. So, okay, everybody counts. So, what decision-making processes do we use to judge that we're on track to?
And those decisions as well, we can also inform our audience that not just the decision within the organization, but also decisions the organization make that does impact or influence external stakeholders as well. The government, the public, the community.
I mean, the whole drug company spaces all the time. They make a drug, 0.00% of people react badly to this. Do they turn to manufacturers and so forth? And then finally, we look at the beautiful. The beautiful is traditionally a role of aesthetics, and that means the appeal of our business. How do we make our business so that it is humanly appealing? So people, and when I say people, our customers, our suppliers want to engage with the business. Obviously, that appeal is going to be based as well. Obviously, not just service appeal, right? So it's a kind of instinct or touch point we have for the good and the true. Is if something is appealing, well ordered, we tend to think, well, okay, maybe it's authentic. It doesn't always have to be the case. Okay? So that's what we're looking at. So today I'm going to look at the good.
Yes.
And when we look at the good, you had a question earlier on about when I mentioned the good. You want to ask that question? I think it's really important.
So I have so many questions, John. So we have I'm talking about the all the good, the good. So qualities of the goods. Yeah, I think my question was, you said in reality when we talk about the goods, we put it in the plural sense. And I wanted to understand why should that be in a plural sense?
Right. Okay. So before I go there, let's just to talk about when we talk about what we're talking about. Okay? Because I like to be conscious as you do. And I think consciousness makes us actually more ethical, more moral sometimes, if we're aware of what we're saying. So if we talk about ethics, everybody uses the term ethics. So ethics actually are thought systems we use to evaluate our behavior and our motives, right?
Yep.
Now, next to ethics comes morality. Now, morality is different to ethics. Morality is what we have been unconsciously socialized into. So you work in an organization and they say, and you just kind of learn, and not because anybody tells you necessarily, that these are the things that are good to do in this organization. Underneath morality, the lowest level of morality is what we call laws or company policy. These are standards based on the principle of do no harm. So that they're kind of baseline to morality. Laws and policy, if they're broken, usually in punishment or sanction, either by an organization or government, right? Mm-hmm. If you can still keep the law, but you're an immoral person because you do things that are socially unacceptable to other people. You might gossip a lot, or you might, some people might have promiscuous relations around the company. Okay. Then you are not taken to court or fired necessarily. But what happens is people either confront you or they don't want to talk to you. Okay. So there's this distinction which is really important to keep in mind. The ethics of how we judge the standards, morality are the standards, and then the law is the bottom level of those standards, or the company policy. Okay. Now, to answer your question about the goods or the goods there are many things which are good. We might say in an organization, serving the customer, having a clean and tidy environment, paying our employees well. So there are many good things we should be doing. So it's never just one good thing. Okay. And these goods compete with each other, in a sense. So I think it's a really practical example. I got home tonight and I have a call from a client, and it's possibly a very big contract. But my kids want me to go and watch them play soccer. There are two goods. Okay? Now, I'm going to decide between these two goods, which is the better good, because they compete. And so it's not as simple as just choosing between good and bad. We're choosing often between better and best in a particular context. All right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Thank you so much for explaining that, John. So in the topic on the good,
right.
We will be looking at what are some things organizations are doing in terms of activities within the organization, interactions with their employees, and of course, other stakeholders.
Yeah.
Now, there is one question here which I'm going to start by shooting at you.
No, I was telling you already.
You talked about some of it already, right? We did. But we said we're going in with the goods, so we said the goods is about the purpose of the organization.
Right.
And here, what would you define as the overall purpose of an organization, of a business?
Right.
Or the organizational life?
Right. So I'm going to lay out three. So there are many views. I'm going to lay out three views. And then I'll tell you which one. And then obviously the last one's going to pay the last, but it's the most complex. So the first view, if you look at just business, is good old Freeman, who said, the purpose of business is to make profit. That's it. Okay. All other things, this is Freeman. Okay. All other stuff, it belongs to other organizations. Okay. Now I have a big issue with that. Okay.
The capitalism.
Yeah. We all make profit and planet can do it. No. So the next one from that kind of the middle says the purpose of business is, yes, to make money, but it's to also consider all the internal stakeholders of the business. In other words, the employees who work for you. So you look after and you treat well your employees. You have good benefits, you manage them well, you do all the things to support your employees to produce either your profit or your service or your product doesn't necessarily have to be for profit. Now, I like most of all a good place view, which is a permanent stakeholder view, which is very complex and difficult, which means that everything matters. The business is part of society, and therefore the purpose of business is to be beneficial, or the purpose of the organization, to the society in which it's located in. So that means your customers, your suppliers, your employees, and the civic society around your business. So, practical example, I'm a big business or a big organization. I'm going to build a building in the city, right? Or is that building going to enhance the city in terms of what it just about architecture? Does it look good? Is it friendly? So make people feel good. Is the ergonomics of that building good? Okay, for that actual city block, or or when I put it out, am I going to destroy all of other, for example, low-cost housing rentals around me? There's the whole bunch of things.
So basically, we can be saying an organization triple bottom line.
Yeah, profit.
So the environment and the society.
And
So of course, now I think there's a shift from profit, because traditionally we used to more profit and economic prosperity.
Sure.
So we can say the same thing in that regards, in terms of thinking about the people within the organization and thinking about what your actions are.
And the people outside the organization. And the organization is fundamentally part of society, like the family is, so I mean, it's in the organization, and you cannot run away. And when I say total stakeholder, you will consult stakeholders, right? Mm-hmm. So you will consult the city, and you sort of push your way through this.
Correct.
But of course, democracy takes this is very democratic, it takes a long time. Mm-hmm. But I love it when Churchill said, he said, democracy is the worst form of government, except for the few others that we try to do, right? So they take a short, give you quick results, but short years and long term you have problems. So yeah, that's a total stakeholder view, and I support that.
So yeah, thank you for that. Now I think my question was still the overall purpose of organization. So just to wrap it, defined by the stakeholder.
Okay, the overall purpose of business is to encourage human flourishing in the environment the business is put into. Okay, so and I would say human and the environmental flourishing. So it's to do the society, the environment good the most good you can where it is. And to do that means you have to consult with all those stakeholders.
Yeah, I
know that's a very noble aim, but why not shoot for the shot?
It's actually something very attainable. And there are businesses out there today who are driven by the impact of their action, the impact of the people within the organization, and of course the environment as well. So they are very conscious.
Yes.
I worked for a jewelry company when I just came to Canada. I was doing I was studying my graduate studies, and Tiffany & Co. And it was a whole lot. I went through the hiring process to help us, the employee, understand the impact of their mining for diamonds to the environment and their actions to at least try to rectify some of those things. Right. So it goes a little way from ensuring that this is important, because they wanted the candidates to understand what was their value. Right. This was their line of business. They wanted them to know, okay, this is still what we want, And of course, I didn't go to do research to see what really was the impact, but I felt some value congruence when I could hear what their actions are to ensure that they were, taking care of the environment, because mining diamonds also does cause some impact, right? So that goes a long way as well in terms of your actions while you are trying to ensure that you're caring about those out of the environment, your community. You also want to communicate it. Mm-hmm. You want to ensure that people understand it as well, just to ensure they see where you're going and probably follow up as well.
I agree. And it's important we realize in this whole area that it's all imperfect still, right? So, companies do make mistakes, but are trying to get it better. I consulted in Africa to a mining company as well. And they did something which was really remarkable. And I studied this in depth. What they did was they were in a very poor area to the mine. And where there was no schooling. And they desperately needed educated people to work in their mines or to train potential employees for their mines. So what they did was establish a series of schools around the mine, which they funded, private schools, not the state didn't put a cent into these, to which the local population can go and receive a really high-class education. And then, of course, they provided a pool of employees, potential employees, for the later, not everybody, but certainly many. And so I saw that as really productive. And you know, but if you're to good, many people think companies, I think, get freaked out because they think, oh, I'm going to spend all this money and there's no return. No, you can do, you know, if you do the principle of life is you do good to others and returns to you. And if you're smart enough to set up systems like that.
I love that. And now you actually mentioned something. We'll talk about that return on investment. I also find that a lot of companies hesitate to invest or do the good where the return is not in the monetary form.
Right.
You know, how am I doing this? You know, it's a lot of money. If that money is not showing, that return is not showing the balance sheets, they don't see it. And it goes with so many actions. I mean, we were talking recently about mental health at the workplace and what organizations, programs organizations could have initiatives. And for them, they're not seeing what that program is. Because an employee being happy, it's not a return on investment for them.
Right.
You always need that monetary value, that balance sheets increase. I did this mental health situation. They don't see number of people who did not go sick. They don't see the number of employees who are actually happy.
Right.
They don't see that as a return on investment. Not all organizations do. So that's a very good point about that. Having schools around the area and having people who can work there in the future. And even if they don't work there, that opportunity you're giving to the community, that's a return on investment.
Right. But you see, there's a little bit of an hypocrisy here. And I want to make some of our listeners comfortable when I say this, because when we sell a business and we talk about going value of the business, we sell it based on this brand reputation, which we quantify, or we're very quick to quantify that in a spreadsheet. This brand, this reputation, so you're buying this reputation. Now, you know, our balance sheet must also then learn to quantify other things if you want to financially. And if you quantify things like this, they are huge. And in terms of HR, still, this company saved itself by having all these, you know, well-educated people and stuff. Now, that can be quantified. You can say, I'm going to recruit people or I train people. You know, these things can be quantified.
They can.
And if we do that, honestly, I think we're in a much better place in business to actually, you know, do the good.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So being able to see that it doesn't have to be that instant monetary value, something you can try to see, you know what? Because the cost of people actually posting a job, getting the experts to come in comparison to you actually having a ready pool of candidates.
Right.
Who appreciate what you've done and probably will be paying back.
Right.
It goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's ask you something else. Okay. So when we talk about the good, you know, you've worked in organizations where you've either you've seen employees treated well or badly, or you've seen good products or bad products and services. Okay. So what practical examples from your work and career do you have of saying, wow, that was really good, and I'm proud that, you know, if I didn't work for that company and I did, I'd be very proud to stand behind that, or you might have actually worked for it, because those examples make it very real for people. What examples do you have of you having seen that?
Well, I have quite a lot of examples. I'm sure one good and one bad.
Okay.
I think I would generalize the good because there's so many.
Right.
The good is where the organizations see a reason, a purpose in their people.
Yes.
So, for example, there was this client that approached me and mentioned an employee who was not feeling well and claiming that they had a mental health issue.
Right.
While we wanted to onboard the individual, I wanted to kind of understand, because a lot of companies come and say, we don't want this person, what do we do? But before I tell you what you do, I want to know what you've done. to accommodate the person. What's the situation? So as we were going into the situation, I could see records of this person coming sick and saying they went for physio, they went for therapy. So we came up with a plan of what to do. So we gave the employee options, which was good.
Right.
Although the employee was literally offloaded, but they were options for the employee. But once we were done with that particular case, I wanted the business owner to understand that if one employee was feeling this, chances are you have 3 other students. Why don't you tell me what you've done to create an awareness?
Right.
And he hadn't done anything else. And he was very honest.
Right.
And he was like, you know what? You're actually right. Because the type of line of work, and this was an organization in construction.
Right.
The line of work does create for people to get that pressure, either from the work, pressure from the environment itself that they want, people from their homes. And I told him, I think we should run a workshop. And he instantly saw the benefit.
Right.
He asked questions, he wanted to know what the workshop was all about. I was good to him. When we ran the workshop, it was alarming. One of the icebreaker activities was how many of them have had a workshop or training on mental health? It was, I think 2 people raised their hands out of a pool of 40-something candidate participants.
Right.
How many of them knew what mental health was?
Right.
Or mental illness?
Right.
One person raised their hand.
Wow.
And he was shocked.
Wow.
But the point was, he was ready. He cared about the people. It wasn't just about the cost of the workshop. It wasn't just about the time it would take for them to go off work. He really cared. And he was interested in making it better.
Wow.
Some people say, oh, it's okay. There is no issue. Why this is no case? So that was a good one. Somebody who wanted to, that was good. They saw the purpose in their employees' well-being. They saw the purpose in terms of how that would be an investment for them.
Yes.
They're good, they're happy, and they were excited because given the line of what we went to make it fun, they were happy, they had fun. Just to say we got a standing ovation. Yes, it was good. Now, on the other hand, there are organizations who we talk about purpose. We talk about purpose using your definition.
Right.
We talk about that people inside, the people outside your community.
Right.
And we provide clients where those don't matter. What matters is the brand. What matters is the service or the product that they have. The people is just a means. So recently, I off-boarded a client because my reason was we're not aligned in terms of what we're looking for. From not paying the employee what is in contract, to not adhering to the employment standards, to not providing the space for people to feel comfortable, relaxed. A lot of complaint. So for me, it was not just that misalignment. I had a reputation as well. I wanted to uphold around people, around their experiences. So that was a case where it just wasn't working. So I hope that was a good
I think some businesses have got to find some of their customers and clients. Or, all for them, let's put it more bluntly.
Yeah, so that was a lovely question, Joe. That was a lovely That's okay. Go ahead.
When you shared that example, that first example, of the good, there's a comment I want to make about that because it's such a powerful example that when you talk about business ethics, organizational ethics, there's a lot of what I hate, which I hate, was finger wagging, or was condemnation. And this condemnation, although I understand people's motives, they get angry when they see people damage stuff, sometimes it's just ignorance. And we're all unconscious at different levels. And sometimes it's just ignorance. And if people are educated, if they're like this, like you did for this person, and you make them aware, and then they take action, I say, that's fantastic. Because if we make the good so harsh and judgmental, people are going to be alienated from even thinking about ethics. They think, I'm not going to hear those people They just make you bad, like, oh, yeah. And it's, you know, I think that's very true. We don't want to do that, right? We want to be doing the good, appealing, and we want to make it, in a sense, easy. You know, these other brands which say it's very hard to do a side when you do the good. You're not always going to suffer. No, you know, you know. So, yeah, I love that example. I just want to say it's so beautiful because it shows that consciousness, develop and visual page.
Yeah, and mutual interest as well. And because he was nice and it also did that. This is all good all around.
Yeah.
Now, there was one question we have in here. I thought John would be the perfect person to address.
I was excused.
Because we're shifting to marketing, right? So I thought maybe I'll get your perspective on it.
Yes.
It says the products and services and how are they as an organization or business products and their services and how they're marketed. What does that have to do with our conversation around the
A huge amount. Okay, so I'm going to start with quite a personal example, but one that illustrates very clearly. Okay. So when one of my sons was in his early adolescence, okay, he went off to he went off to a local shopping mall near us to go and purchase some stuff. And he came back with this a bottle of deodorant. Okay, one he purchased. It was quite fun. But when he came back, he was super excited, and he could tell me everything about this bottle of deodorant. So I was thinking, something's happened here because I could feel the buzz, right? So I said to him, "Tell me, you know, where did you buy this and everything?" And immediately he said, "Oh, there was this beautiful saleswoman, and she had this really short skirt on, and she was, you know." And so she had fried his words to a crisp. Okay, now, part of me, again, this is just the way life is sometimes, but part of me thought, this is just not cool, okay? Because, you know, this young man, adolescent boy, and sure, you're saying what about the other, but, you know, it's demeaning to women. It's demeaning to men. There's a whole bunch of things involved here.
So why is it demeaning?
Demeaning.
Why is it demeaning? Why?
Well, because the woman is using her sexuality to sell a deodorant. Okay. And basically coming on too strong to him. And of course, he thought, you know, she was in love with him, you know, a potential girlfriend. I can't explain it. This is somebody doing sales, okay? So it was manipulating through his sexuality, basically. And as a man, he was just in a coach. I can do that. Okay? So how we sell, okay? I think another example was it's also based on this kind of what I call sleaze marketing. I consulted to a company that sold building materials to organizations in Africa. And what these organizations would then do was they would then be able to give these building materials to the workforce to build houses, which happens in Africa for low cost housing, right? So people have good quality building materials with which to build their house. When the company gave it to them as part of their CapEx, right? So I get working with them, looking at their marketing plan and everything. And when it comes to the salespeople, I began asking questions. And then the questions obviously became uncomfortable. So the CEO shut off his door, chased me outside and said, "Okay, I've got to straighten this out too." So I said, "What do you mean?" So he said, "Well, you know, you asking questions about their qualifications and all questions, you know, because I expect the people that sold to these corporations will have building backgrounds, etc." He said, No. We get 24-year-olds, black down women, put them in short black miniskirts and send them to the CEOs. That's how you sell building material. And you see, so again, now these are two extreme examples, okay? But there are many other ways in which when we market, we can sell products to people which break, okay, and have a short shelf life, okay. Yeah, we can be selling products to people full of toxic stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not very simple, John. We can be selling products where we omit important information. I had an employee came to me and was very disappointed in the company, and I wanted to know why. And he says, Customers call me all the time and they say, you told us that this product is free. But they lied, because one of the things they use in attracting them is saying a part of the service is free.
Right.
Once they pay for the service, then they start trying to bill you.
Right. And the digital stuff too. People are saying all sorts of apps and everything, and we stay on people's credit cards because they don't need to clean it up, and there's no subscription, and they just keep it.
Exactly.
So when we talk about selling and the good, okay, we've got to make sure that it's an honest, clear deal with people. When people talk about the fine print, I get twitchy. I say, no, it should be the big print, okay? No, because why? And then they write this fine print, what's called the legalese. All this English, only a lawyer can understand. It's their whole, and then the average person will look at this, either just toss or will misunderstand this document. But as soon as I'm pay a lawyer to go through it, So there's a point at which, fine print, when people, I think, get a touchy, I think, no, don't catch people out, because once you point me out, I'm angry. And you damage your reputation.
I agree. And the same goes with contracts as well, employee contracts. What kind of English is there? Do they understand it? Do you give them enough time to review the contract? And other employers give employee contracts and say, okay, sign it. By God, they should have time to review it. They should have the opportunity to consult with legal hearings.
Absolutely.
So it goes, and this is really big. You see this every time. You see this everywhere. And that's a very good one. So not just in marketing as well, even in our daily actions.
HR stuff. One of the things I'm so respected about previous college I worked for, Greystone, was the lengths they went to when they let somebody go to explain to them that they had lots of time, a week or more if they wanted to review the contract. They encouraged them to seek counsel if they needed to seek counsel. So they made it absolutely transparent. And I just thought, that's how it should be. No, as you say, no, this is a sign and pressure. In fact, you can get in a lot of trouble now if you do that.
I agree. Actually, they really struggle with that, especially when it comes to employment standards. Now, this conversation also goes with what we're talking about around transparency. So we had conversation around transparency within the organization, transparency in terms of key decisions, transparency in terms of financial services, financial statements, transparency around employee work life. So that also becomes very important when we talk about it good. How transparent are you? How clear are you?
Right.
And how much are you actually adhering to what you promised, the promises that you made?
Right. I mean, how would when you talk about the matter of finance and the it's one of the least disclosed elements in any business to employees. Like the financial management part of, and they doesn't get to see a summary of the balance sheet, And I have had good experiences where I have consulted organizations that have decided to become more transparent financially with their employees. And I think one particular organization, and it was actually a very large organization, and they decided to give the employees on a quarterly basis a summary of the balance sheet. And not just that, they had a workshop, voluntary workshop, that you could go to where an accountant, so if you didn't understand accounting that well, would help you understand that, and you could ask questions. And I thought, just the fact that they did that, the trust levels in that organization were sky high compared to a lot of other places I'd seen.
Big organizations tend to feel very comfortable doing that. I worked for an airline, and that was a thing. We get sort of the yearly breakdown, and of course, a lot of us know that our profit share is tied to that, so it helps us to be able to review it. I do have a lot of small organizations, medium-sized small businesses, and I do see that is still not the case, most of them. And partly because as the business leaders, they, I guess from my experience, a lot of them do not want to share because that brings into question what you're paying your employees. Yeah, I see that hesitation with small, medium-sized businesses, but a lot of larger organizations, natural transparency, they seem to understand that, especially if I have a benefit like a profit share. I need to know what profits to make, so I can be able to calculate how much rates that goes to me.
And I'll give you even more radical example. I worked for a consultant medium-sized organization, and they did something which was part of the charts for me. They shared everybody's salary. Everybody could see everybody's salary. Now, that is such a big no-no in this, including the bosses, right? So everybody could see what everybody earned. And then when you signed up for this company, they said, this is the deal, okay? This is what we do here. It's part of what we do. Because and I had a really, really interesting discussion with CEO because it was so radical.
I think I will have an interesting discussion.
Very radical, okay.
We're going into him all right.
So I said, yeah, I said, what is, explain this to me. And he said lots of things. But one of the things I'll highlight for our conversation, he said this. He said, yes, people challenge what everybody earns here, which means everybody has to learn to justify what they earn. But in terms of what they do, not just what they say. Okay? So, and it makes everybody very accountable. Because if I say I earn this salary, I can tell people what I do, but they've got to actually see me doing it, and see me meeting my targets. Okay?
But now,
I thought that was. Yeah, but I'm not saying it's very bad, but you know, there was just again a level of commitment to that organization for people that understood that, a level of accountability, which I have seen. I've really.
I see that coming on, but I also believe that there are other ways to be accountable.
I'm not suggesting that I'm not saying that as a blueprint. I'm just saying that there are these experiments. Which I think are really useful, which challenge our existing paradigm. Because that's how you braille.
I always tell me, Gifty, I don't want my employees to, communicate with one another about their salary because they're trying to hide what they're paying people. And I always, my response is, you can be transparent without saying the figure. Everyone you have an experience, you look at things like your skills, your education, the effort you put into the job, the condition of the workplace, and you have that as a pay scale. Everybody can see the pay scale. I have a high school, I have a bachelor, I have a master's. That's going to influence what I get paid.
Yes.
And I say, your employees you don't need to disclose to people what the scale is, but they can. Yeah, it's just a scale. And it doesn't say the amount, it just says range.
Right.
So I love when that scale, but an individual's income, it's up to them to communicate if they want to. But give them the scale. And it helps to be transparent. It helps to be accountable. It even motivates people. Yeah. I want to be in that scale, I have to get an education. I want to be in that scale, I need to put more effort. If I want to get an increase, I know what area. It helps people to build their career. So I always encourage scale and reach for salary. It always helps.
I agree. And the issue you raised is really interesting for me because, I always say the business leaders have conversations with me about confidentiality. I say to them, have as few secrets in your organization as possible. As few things because people will talk. Okay. So I've heard employees share their salaries with each other. And so people will talk. Okay. So be careful what you say is confidential, but then make it very confidential.
I think the idea, and I want you to have me on, we're talking about this, and I still talk to clients. If you have a pay scale and people say how people are paid, perfect. An individual's amount, Gifty makes $10 an hour. She will give his responsibility to communicate that if she wants to. But as an organization, you protect my privacy in terms of why I can have a chat with you and coffee and tell you what I mean. Because I'm comfortable sharing that private information. All right, John, should we say what we took away from today?
Yeah, I expected it always does. Okay, so you want to go first?
Okay. I love today's section because we couldn't kind of cover everything we have on this topic for sure. But when we talk about the good, I loved that you gave an example at the beginning when you were saying the different levels. Organization thinking about themselves, Organizations think about themselves, other people, organizations think about themselves, the people inside the environment.
Mhm.
I love that. And I tie that to, I think you were talking about, what was the word you use, a stakeholders,
Sure.
total stakeholders view, which I tie to what I call a triple bottom line.
Yes.
I know it's a term that is being introduced. I love that because organizations need to be accountable to the public, accountable to their employees, transparent in what they do, their actions, but most importantly, the ability for them to know that there is always room to change, always room to improve, right? Because you get feedback from these people and there's always room to have a change. What about yourself? What did you think?
For me, it was when, the example you shared of your engagement with that CEO who was prepared to listen and just wants to be more ethical, but just didn't know how. Or had it more, or whatever it happens to be. But the fact that you challenged him at the right time, and you, I think what helped him accept that was it was a more sophisticated view of ethics you presented, not just do the right thing, but if you do the right thing, here are the consequences, here are the ramifications. And so sometimes, I think present ethics to people, we need to present a sophisticated package.
Until next time, this is Gifty Parker and John Ballon.
Remember, during your busy week ahead, stay good, stay true, and stay beautiful.
Bye-bye.